All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Smash Hole of the Week, episode 00001. We had to redo this one because we ran into some issues regarding things like what we're allowed to say and not say on YouTube. So, hey, sorry about that, YouTube. This is our COVIDIOTS redo. The first episode of the Smash Holes of the Week, episode 00001. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is, well, COVIDIOTS. So, that's what this one is about. This is going to be a new series. Don't forget the spelling of Smash Hole of the Week. And you can find this particular graphic as well as others at smAsho.com/forum. We would invite you all to preferably not be complete COVIDiots. And just to kick things off, the conversation with this woman went like this. What are you doing? I'm walking, Sandy. Why are you walking around with a ski mask on? Because some government official told me I must wear a ski mask. And the guy says, but you realize that's not going to protect you. And she said, but I feel protected. So that's sort of what we're talking about here when we talk COVIDiocy. And so let's bring up this graphic. The COVIDiocy spectrum. And that's really what this is all about. There is a spectrum. And from most people's perspective, most people fall someplace in the middle of this. They say we need a balanced approach, which means there's a bell curve. And so you've got the most people in the middle here, and you got the least people. This is just population, this bell curve, right? Down at this side, you've got people that think, hey, there's no danger whatsoever. Viruses aren't even real. Nobody can prove them because I don't have an electron microscope in my house. At the other end, you've got the oh no's. Every human is a deadly viral vector who needs masks and lockdowns today and forever, possibly, even after being vaccinated. And then you have the majority of the population, which falls someplace in the middle, needing a balanced approach. And really, you get different perspectives of craziness on this. For example, if you're on this side, everybody to your right seems crazier and crazier, up to a tangential crazy at the very right side of the graph. Conversely, if you're at this side, everybody to your left seems crazy to a tangential vertical column on the left side of the graph. And in the middle, you've got people with all kinds of different perspectives. Largely, you'll have this. They think these people aren't crazy. And then, oops, you got crazy people at the two sides. Your graph is shaped like, really it's shaped more like this. Crazy people at both sides like this. The fewest crazy people must be in the middle. So anyway, the point of the video is that you fall somewhere on that graph, and everybody that you know, largely split into 50% portions, fall into the other spots on that graph. So that's what this week's Smash Holes of the Week segment is about. We here at Smash Holes of the Week, we try to appeal to and or enrage the largest portion of the population. And so if you find that it's funny, it's probably because it's true. So if you've noticed that everything is on fire, and it's largely because of COVIDiots, it all has to do with everybody's position on that spectrum. So now we've created all kinds of memes here on the forum, and this particular thread just happens to lend to this particular video. But big tech has emerged as certainly a huge COVIDiot. So Google, Facebook, Apple, Twitter, and indeed Amazon also have probably contributed to COVIDiocy. And we won't get too in-depth into that in the video, but just keep in mind that big tech, just like certain governments, are some of the entities that are responsible for the most massive amounts of COVIDiocy. And speaking of the most massive amounts of COVIDiocy, let me take that back off the screen for a quick moment and put out this fire. Oops, it doesn't seem to go out. There we go. Dr. Fauci's committed fraud. He admitted the fraud to the New York Times. Whether the New York Times got him drunk or for whatever reason he decided to admit that he indeed did commit the fraud that he committed by misrepresenting the amount of vaccinations required for herd immunity by a solid 10%. So let's read a quote from Dr. Fauci. As noted on my meme here, my fraud meme. And by the way, the definition of fraud is intentional misrepresentation. To quote Dr. Fauci, when polls said only about half of all Americans would take a vaccine, I was saying herd immunity would take 70 to 75%. Then, when newer surveys said 60% or more would take it, I thought I can nudge this up a bit, so I went to 80-85. Why is that? Why is that? When called on this before CNN, the good Dr. Fauci, let's get his face off of my screen, cited a bunch of technical jargon and some nonsense about measles vaccines and how he was using the measles vaccine as a model with which to totally change his ideas about what level of vaccination would be required for herd immunity, which makes no sense. So anybody who knows anything about the science of infectious diseases and vaccinations and so on would probably tend to agree with what I've just said about how Dr. Fauci has committed fraud, and there's no way around it. So you can try to scientifically jargon talk away the fact that Fauci committed fraud. And so without any reference to where I fall on the COVIDiocy spectrum, because that's irrelevant, an intentional misrepresentation of material facts is the definition of the word fraud. Now, I don't know if Merriam-Webster would like to change that. Now, Merriam-Webster has emerged as one of the many COVIDiots of the year 2020, which was a year of clarity, by the way. If you've noticed, a lot of different entities coming out of the woodwork, informing everybody through mainly their actions that they are part of the problem. So Merriam-Webster is definitely on the list of COVIDiots who should be accountable in the year 2021. So we forecasted that the year 2020 would be a year of clarity, and indeed it was. Now we're forecasting that the year 2021 will be a year of accountability. So the degree of COVIDiocy that you've visited upon the rest of mankind should be your level of accountability. So, for instance, one of the most accountable parties in the whole world would be Dr. Neil Ferguson, which is why I like him better like this. But certainly Dr. Ferguson should be civilly responsible, if not criminally responsible, for accidentally misrepresenting the number of deaths from COVID on a magnitudinal scale. He wasn't just off by a little bit. He was off by a factor of 10. Also, he violated lockdown orders in the UK. I don't know if he was fired or if he resigned, but this is the kind of thing I'm talking about, folks. We're starting to see a lack of accountability. And we're also seeing a thing known as government overreach. Now, I'm not a fan of government overreach, and I've been a critic of government overreach since I was 4 years old for various reasons. But here's a quote that I'm not fond of hearing. Listen to the science, support masks, support a mask mandate nationwide, require masks in every federal building and facility, and interstate travel. I don't find this to be acceptable because of the ineffective nature of mask mandates. So, yeah. And not only that, to make matters more serious, I'll share a personal story on this week's Smash Holes of the Week segment. So, with respect to COVIDIOTS, I've run into personal problems because of wearing a mask, as I've been required to wear a mask for months in the scope of my work. And since my employer required this exact type of mask, the employer-provided mask. Now, of course, I provided the adornment to the mask, but I'm only finally just getting rid of a rash that I've got all over my entire face area, and it's entirely from wearing a mask. What the exact mechanism that is, well, remains to be established. But requiring asymptomatic people to wear masks and to quarantine is not only ineffective, but tyrannical, unconstitutional, and ridiculous. So it's accomplishing a whole lot of nothing except destroying the economy. And when the cure is worse than the disease, we don't apply the cure. So speaking of cures, New York needs one. And New York needs to hold this bureaucrat accountable for making New York the deadliest place in the world when it comes to COVID survivability. So if your dead family member is now smiling down upon Andrew Cuomo's brilliant governance, I don't know. Leave us a comment, but we would certainly like to hear your opinion on whether or not this bureaucrat is the Pacino or the De Niro of COVID-19. What do you think? Is he the Pacino or the De Niro? Here's a clip.
Together, we're like the modern day De Niro and Pacino. You can be whichever you want. You can be the De Niro or Pacino.
So Cuomo and Fauci, they're going to be the De Niro and Pacino of COVID. Now Fauci declines to divulge whether or not he would prefer to be De Niro or Pacino. But apparently that's Cuomo's idea of them getting vaccinated at the same time. And by the way, he's won awards for his great dealing of his great governance of the state of New York. So yeah, there's accountability coming since it's the year 2021. And so that's part of the reason why we've made the Smash Holes of the Week segment. We've redone this. Hopefully this will be within YouTube's guidelines here. The grounds for which the original video was taken down were a little bit unclear as per the subject matter of the video, because we were told that it was taken down for medical misinformation. So we've just included less technical stuff in this video. And you can still view the original one at bitshoot.com/smashamash, bitshoot.com/smashamash. Anyway, I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. smAsho. Thanks for tuning in to the Smash Holes of the Week, episode 00001, COVIDIOTS. And again, sorry to YouTube. We didn't mean to violate terms of service with the original video. We would certainly never do such a thing intentionally. And so, thanks for bringing this to our attention and bringing down the old video. We look forward to doing business with you in the future. And it's time for me to vanish and play our closing music, Stack or Do. See you next time. Thanks for tuning in to the special edition of the Smash News Network Smash Holes of the Week, episode 00001, COVIDIOTS Redo.